Wow.
And like I said, I had some run-ins though in the church. I did, you know. I know when my oldest son turned 8 years old and I'd baptized him. This is where one of my anger's coming out. I was sitting in Sunday school holding him, and because he wasn't feeling well, and he was leaning against me, and I had a gentleman, a member, come up and just pat me on the shoulder. And I looked up and he whispered, he said, "Your son's not really baptized." And I said, "Excuse me?" Because he was at his baptism the week before. He says, "No." He said, "I saw his toe come up out of the water."
What?
And I was like, "What?" He said, "Yeah, so he's not really baptized. You're going to need to redo it." And I said, "Well, there were 2 witnesses there. You know, they're supposed to redo them." And he said, "Well, if you don't want to be with your son, that's fine." He turned off and walked away. And I kind of went berserk on him. I got up and I handed my child. He ran. And I can tell you right now.
Nice!
He locked himself in the clerk's office. And I can testify to you, the Mormons know how to build buildings. You cannot tear down a Mormon door. Yeah. It's not going to happen. I had surgery on my shoulder to testify to that because I tried to break that door down.
Wow.
And I remember I thought, okay, I told my wife, I said, I have to go. If not, I'm going to kill this man. That's PTSD, it clicked in. And because I felt he came after my son.
Yeah.
And I thought, this guy, he needs his head ripped off. Wow. And so I went to leave, but the bishop ended up talking me into come into his office and talk to this gentleman. I know the bishop was there with 2 other counselors and him too, and he said he wants to apologize to you. Well, he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, Brother Stollings," but the grin on his face, I saw that grin, so I went for his throat immediately. So I had him against the wall, but they were able to get my hand loose away from him, and he ran back into the clerk's office again. And they tried to keep me from getting to him, and I remember some of it. I know the bishop went over his desk. His counselor went over a couple of chairs, and
nice.
So I kind of, this was my anger, so I kind of lost it. So
it's all right. I love it.
Yeah, but they kept him locked in the clerk's office until I left. So, but when I left, I went to the man's house. Actually, I was waiting on him to come back home from church. So, but sitting there on his front doorsteps waiting on him, here came the bishop and his son, and they're like, "Tom, why are you here?" I said, "Well, why are you here? Your wife said you would come here." I said, "Well, I guess she was right." But you know, they talked and I calmed down and I thought, okay, we could do this. And the sad thing, but the funny thing about it, 2 weeks before that, in leadership meetings, they were talking about no one wants to be this man's home teacher because no one can handle him. I thought, I can do that. You know, I could be patient with him and be all right. But I immediately got released from his home teacher. So, but I felt bad to do that because I know there were people in the church that saw my outburst, and I felt bad for that. Sure. I apologized to him for that. I snapped.
Yeah.
And he did come up a few weeks later to church and wanted to shake my hand and apologize. And I said, "Well, I appreciate you apologizing, but I'm not ready for the handshake yet." I just couldn't do it because I felt he attacked my son, and that just put me in fight mode. Yeah. So, but I got over it, and it moved on.
So the interesting thing is that you've been on high alert. You didn't even want to have kids. You didn't want to bring kids into this world. You find a woman, you trust that you two can do it. You bring in 4 sons, and then we go on attack mode when someone even suggests that they're not baptized because the toe came up. I don't know what the motive is behind that psycho, but and so you have your child. That's the thing, is the challenge the children that, and so what happens now? We're almost at the end of our first hour in our first part. What is the first thing that happened where all of this starts to unravel? Tell our audience what was introduced to your family, what just initially happened. We'll get to the details in our next part, about your children, you and your wife, the ward, the stake, your family. What happened?
Well, what had happened, an individual that we knew, a young man, Michael Christopher Jensen was his name. He, no one ever knew, but he was a friend of my oldest son. He grew up through Young Men's, through the scouting program. We knew his family, we knew him. The mother and father, they were strict like military all the time. You know, they marched in a straight line every morning to sacrament. They'd go across the back, go up the right side, and sit on the very front row where they could see the bishop and everybody face to face. They would sit like statues. You know, everyone knew there was something not right there, but no one knew. But through leadership, I did know that the church was working with him because, you know, he had had an affair with his wife and he was abusive, and they had signed another high councilman with him. And I recall saying, well, why is he a high councilman? Why is he a leader? Oh, well, it'll help him grow. Put him in leadership, it'll help him get through his issues of, you know, abuse of family things too. So I don't know. There was red flags there everywhere. But what happened was he was brought back. They sent him on his mission to Mesa, Arizona.
Michael Jensen.
Christopher Jensen. And I believe about halfway through his mission, he had came back home. When we saw him in church, we were like, whoa, why is he back home early from his mission? But that's when the bishop, the stake president, had announced and, you know, told other leaders he's back because he hurt his back on a bicycle and he's coming back to heal, then he'll be going back on his mission. So that's a lie. They lied there, and that's where it all began. They, can we take a break? I'm sorry.
Let's take a break. In fact, it's a good time to take a break.
Okay.
Tom. We're going to pick it up from here. Sorry. No. You just relax. We'll pick it up from here and talk about the situation. The interesting thing is we just pointed out how the religion was able to produce a beautiful person or help produce a beautiful person like your wife. At the same time, it was able to produce or help produce some monsters.
Exactly.
And so that's kind of the lesson of religion, isn't it?
It is.
And you got to kind of approach it that way. Okay. And we'll pick it up about how those monsters affected your life and everything else when we come back next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.